Hello, I'm Dr. Sam Hancock of the Emerald Planet and Emerald Planet TV. We come to you on a week-to-week basis from Washington, D.C. in the United States as we look around the globe in 144 different nations, looking for those 1,000 best practices, the technology, services, and products that are making a difference as we move through the 21st century. And as we have a planet of 9 billion people by 2038 and possibly 12 to 13 billion by the end of this century, how are we going to be able to take care of all these people on planet Earth? And that's what Emerald Planet's all about. We come to you looking at the solutions, the best practices from around the globe as we create the Emerald Planet. Hello, welcome to the Emerald Planet. We're making a difference as we move through the 21st century. And seeing the long-term impacts of climate change. We're glad to have you. Thank you for being with us.
Looking at food and the color of food, this also matches up with the seasons that we have. Of course, there are many societies in tropical, well, it's either the dry or the wet season. As you go further north, go further south, from the equator, either side, you're going to have more and more of the four seasons. And so we're going to be talking about how this mix of food and the seasons actually can be matched. And it's almost like Mother Nature set it up so that we would be able to take care of what we need as far as the rhythm of life for us humans, but also the rhythm of life as far as the plants. So we have Granetta Coleman. She's a certified Food for Life instructor. The Rooted Dish is going to be talking about how we can look at different seasons, and we have some examples of that, and how we can have the food to match it. Granetta, welcome back to the Emerald Planet.
Thank you.
Looking at the Rooted Dish, and I'm going to go ahead to this first image that we have here. How do we take our food and the colors of the food, and then it's more or less easier to match it to the seasons that we humans find ourselves?
Well, for example, in the winter, you may be more interested in eating warming foods. And in the summer, you might be more interested in eating cooling foods. So that could relate to soups versus smoothies.
Mm-hmm. Now, looking at this scene we have here, winter blues. What are the winter blues?
So the winter blues are symptoms that people get when there's less daylight and it's colder outside, where your hormone levels change and you end up feeling tired, lethargic, and maybe a little sad.
Mm-hmm. Now, the 8 ways to fight the winter blues, I'm sure you're going to tell me that food is one of those. What other ways are there?
So there's 5 top ways that I want to talk about fighting the winter blues, and that's supplementation, that is rest and hibernation. It is getting some sunlight if you can, and of course what you eat and how you sleep.
That's absolutely fantastic. So the total balance of our 24 hours of the day and total balance as far as we're going through life in the various seasons. Supplements. What are supplements? Why are they important?
So on a plant-based diet, which I encourage, you don't need a lot of supplementation, but sometimes in different seasons you may need it. For example, in the winter, when you don't have as much sunlight, you may not be getting as much vitamin D, which is the sunshine vitamin. And so you may need to supplement with some vitamin D in the winter. Also, if you're of a darker complexion, you may need vitamin D all year round because the darker complexion prevents absorption of vitamin D or reduces absorption.
So you're looking at supplements in a very lean way. Do not overdo it. And only take those that you really need, because some people load up with supplements and they're doing it, 365 days of the year. Is that particularly good for you?
I don't think it is good for you. I think that your primary source of vitamins, minerals, and nutrition should be your food. And then if you have any gaps, that's when you can supplement.
Yeah. So it goes back to food is medicine in a sense, the old adage that came all the way from thousands of years ago. Rest and hibernate. Now, rest, I got it. Hibernate, how does that fit?
So, no matter where you are, what season it might be, you may need a time of hibernation where you just allow yourself to take some time to re energize. So, you might not be sleeping, but you might be cutting back on your activities. You might be just reading more books and relaxing, or even, just spending more time with your family at home. If it's winter, you might have a fire that you sit by.
Yeah, and when I'm traveling abroad, I've been into 98 countries now, and 60 of those are on the tropical belt. And you always think of those as not really having much variation as far as the seasons are concerned. But when you're there, you're getting into their rhythm of life. They really do have a winter and a summer, more rain, less rain. It's that type of thing. And they actually do this hibernation. And I was just amazed at that the first time when I started traveling to see that. No snow, but they were definitely, as far as they were concerned, this was the cold season, even though it may be in the 70s and 80s. Light. How do we get light and how do we process light?
So the best way to get light is sunshine. And so if you can take a little time every day, 15 to 20 minutes to let yourself be exposed to the sun, then you're going to get your light, you're going to get your vitamin D, hopefully. But if you are in a place or a time where there isn't enough sunlight, you can still walk out in the sun, but then you also may need to supplement that with a indoor light lamp, sun lamp, that is specially designed to mimic the sun.
This is one of the things I do quite a bit as far as wellness and healing. And I always tell people that they need to allow 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes in the afternoon as far as just strolling. Just it's not a real exercise, just stroll, take in nature. But I understand that there's a different value of D in the morning sunlight versus the afternoon sunlight. Have you heard that report? And why do you think that may be true?
I haven't heard that, but it makes sense. The strength of the sun varies throughout the day. So you're going to get different levels of sunlight depending on the time of day. So wherever you are, there's going to be a point at which the sun is at its strongest. Mm-hmm. And so you may or may not be out at that time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So plan your strolls according to that, as well as just taking in the fresh air and being outside. This whole thing about movement and fresh air, myth or actually scientific fact?
So I didn't read any studies on it, but I do believe that fresh air and movement are key to kind of helping you maintain a steady mood. Yeah.
That's very, very important. And the movement, understand, I think I read every 7 steps, you add another minute to your life. So I guess we try to get all the steps in that we possibly can. Talking about warming foods, this is something you mentioned earlier, Granetta. Tell us about that. And you've got 3 different types here. Why are they different? And how do they impact us day to day if we're going through what we call the winter months?
So warming foods can be wonderful because they can warm you temperature-wise. So we're talking about hot dishes, soups, curries, and stews. But some of them can also be warm because of the spice level. So that can be an internal warmth. And that's mostly curries are more spicy. So that's the difference between the soups are thinner, the curries are spicy, and the stews are hearty. So they have much bigger, heavier items in them.
So the thing about this then is that you can vary between the soups, the curries, and the stews, and that really gives you the variation. How do the colors relate to each of these 3?
So in all of these, you can work in a myriad of colors, which means you're going to be working in a lot of vitamins and minerals, which are great for health. And so, a soup, sometimes I make a soup by cleaning out my refrigerator. So anything that's in there, I grab it, I throw it in a pot with some broth, and I turn it into a soup, and it's very colorful and very healthy and economical.
Now, as far as curries, we know that most people, or the myth is that they're extremely hot. How do we have it so people could learn to enjoy curries, but they don't think that they're going to get all the heat, the burning of the mouth and the tummy from curries? How do we gradually introduce curries into the average American or Northern Hemisphere diet?
So you need to test out different curry blends. Curry is actually a blend of spices. So some of them have more peppers in them, so they're going to be hotter. Some of them are going to have less peppers, so they won't be as hot. So you sample different curries from your local market and find one that fits you. And then when a recipe says put in a tablespoon, start with a teaspoon.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
then you can always add more spice, but you can't take it out.
Yeah, we think about stews and all types of different types of meat, as far as poultry, pork, uh, beef. How do we make these and make these very hearty stews only on plant-based sources?
So usually you want to make sure that your stews have bigger chunks of vegetables. So large pieces of potato, heavier starchy vegetables in there, lots of sweet potato or regular potatoes, and also add in a meaty texture. For example, portobello mushrooms make an excellent meat replacement, or use some of the commercial meat replacements to replace some of those items.
Okay, that's fantastic. Now, this plant-based, we're going to see this several different times throughout our discussion. Why is this so important that we have all four of these on our plate in a 24-hour period?
Well, it's really important just for health in general. And there have been studies that have found that eating plant-based actually improves your mood in the winter months.
No, that's good to know. Okay, we're going to go through some of these, just describe these, and we'll finish out this particular show with these foods. Tell us what we're getting and why these.
So this is a sample of a soup that you could make, and this is a black-eyed pea soup. So you're going to get your legumes in there, which are a great protein source. And then it's going to have things like peppers. It's going to have collard greens. So the beans and the collard greens are actually going to provide not only protein, but calcium for you.
Curry lentil.
This is an example of that curry that we talked about. Now, Ethiopian food is famous for being very spicy. So it can be nice to make this at home so you can adjust the spice level. And this is lentils.
And this is very pretty, and it warms your eyes as well as your body and your tummy. So this is really a beautiful, beautiful food. Beefless stew, and I was referring to that earlier.
Yes, so this is the stew where you see those huge chunks of carrots and potatoes. And then in a substitute for beef, it's portobello mushrooms. So it's got red wine in it to emulate the traditional American beef stew, but it's a plant-based version.
That's fantastic. Minestrone.
This shares something in common with all of the things that I've shown you, which is it is a vegetable soup, but it has kidney beans in it and also pasta. So it's going to be filling, but it's also going to provide you with a lot of energy.
Rooted dish, what do you see for the outreach over the next 5, 10, or 15 years? And we have to be quick.
I'm looking forward to everyone on the planet experimenting and hopefully adopting a plant-based diet.
That's fantastic. Granetta Coleman of the Rooted Dish, thank you for being with us as we create the Emerald Planet.
Thank you.